Professor. I'm Roman Luco, and for this week's Module 2, we will be discussing the football crazy scenario. Um, so, once again, this will not be a slide by slide presentation or word for word, but for the flight scenario, I do need to go into details over what we'll be discussing today. So, in this scenario, myself and a friend are planning a trip from Minneapolis to Dallas, Texas to watch the Vikings play the Cowboys. One of your friends is apprehensive about flying in a light twin engine plane, and the other is very inquisitive type. He constantly asks, "What is this and how does that work?" with one passenger needing reassurance and the other always asking about the airplane. I have to make sure that I really know my stuff. So I'm going to discuss some concepts with my friends of single pilot resources to ensure that I have everything under control. Now, um, once again, for me, I'm flying the Diamond DA-42, which is a light twin engine aircraft. So let's go into the systems of the aircraft. I would want to make sure that my friends understand that, hey, I'm very well aware of how this aircraft works and the systems in it. For example, I would go into the airframe. Obviously, I would let them know that it's a twin engine aircraft, so there's going to be two engines. And another thing, the wingspan. Wingspan is important because we have 44 feet um, length. So from wingtip to wingtip. And that's going to be important when taxiing, when landing, because it's not like flying in single engine where everything's close together. And also, the engines are going to be on the wing. So for a person that may be a little hesitant about flying with a friend, seeing that the engines are on the wing, that may make them think, hey, what happens if one goes out? When we're taxiing, could we hit something? And I just would want to reassure him that I've been flying this aircraft for a while and that I'm well aware of the dimensions of the aircraft. Another thing I'm going to want him to know is about the flight controls. And this is for the inquisitive friend too. Just to let them know, hey, yeah, this is a bigger aircraft, but this aircraft is also equipped with trim. Now, single engine airplanes usually have rudder trim. Usually have trim for the aileron, elevator, but this aircraft also has trim for the rudders. So when I'm making these turns, it's heavy. It's a lot of work on my feet. So I have the rudder trims to help me with that as well. Um, so we also want to go into the compartments, getting in and out of the aircraft. So I want to make sure they know, hey, you're in the back. I want to make sure that they know how to secure and latch the aircraft because it's a canopy. Make sure that the lever is secure. And also, I'm going to discuss with them emergency procedures like how to get in and out of the aircraft in the event of emergency exits. The typical safety brief is what I would go over. So things like seat belts, airflow, fire extinguisher, exits, emergencies, talking, trafficking, and of course, I want to know if they have any questions. Now, with the aircraft, it is a dual engine aircraft, and I want them to know that these engines are capable of working by if one fails. So it's a redundant system. That's something I would want them to know, and also that hey, I know how to operate this aircraft in the event that an engine fails. Also, that we have enough fuel to get to our location, that I know how to add fuel, make sure that we have Jet A fuel with Pris because we're flying from Minnesota during football season. So it's probably going to be pretty cold, and at higher altitudes, we may run into some possible icing. Um, then, like I said, I would go over emergency procedures with them. For the inquisitive friend, he's probably going to be in the front seat, and the more hesitant friend's going to be in the back. So for the inquisitive friend, I would let him go over the checklist and make him feel involved, and it gives him an opportunity to look over some of the procedures. For example, if we have fire in flight, the things that we need to do. So I would have to, you know, crank the engine, um, and then I would have to eliminate the source of fuel and air from the aircraft. Um, So I would be doing that by memory, but I will also have him prepared to help me with the checklist. And then also things like, let's say the landing gear fails. That's something for the person more so in the back, letting him know, hey, we have a manual override here in the event that we do have an engine failure. There's something that we can do to help us get through it. So once again, I would just want to reassure them that I know what I'm doing. Now, let's say both engines fail, or that we cannot maintain VMCA, which is going to be 68 knots in this situation, or we can't get single engine climb, which is going to be 82 knots. I would make sure they know, hey, if we do have to do an emergency landing, these are the steps. Power to idle, make sure the gear's down. If it's a fire, I'm going to turn away from the fire, and I would explain to them, hey, the reason I'm turning away from the fire is getting a 45-degree bank to make sure that I keep the flames off of the engine, and not only off of the engine, but that keeps the fire and the smoke out of my line of sight. And then I'm going to maintain an airspeed of 120 knots. Now, me as the pilot, this is stuff, like I said, it's a high pressure situation, and I'm just going to execute this stuff. But letting them know this beforehand makes it easier for me, and it makes it easier for my passengers to feel comfortable in our flight. Now, going through the flight, I'm going to tell them, like, hey, this is my aeronautical decision making for this flight. It's a long flight from Minneapolis to Dallas in a twin. It's not your typical 3 hour or 4 hour flight on a commercial plane. It's going to take a little bit of time. So there's a lot of steps we have to go through to ensure that we're prepared for all situations, and not only things that happen in flight, but we need to make sure we're prepared mentally, physically, and emotionally before the flight. So I would explain to them the PAVE checklist. We'll go over things about the pilot, which would be me. I would let them know, hey, I've had plenty of rest. Um, I'm I'm not taking any medications. I'm not stressed out because neither of my teams are Dallas or Vikings. Go Lions. I would let them know, once again, I haven't consumed any alcohol. I'm not fatigued, and I'm not dealing with any emotional stress. And also, more importantly, that I'm proficient in this aircraft and current. So I'm legal, and I can fly the aircraft in a highly effective way. Um, then I would go over the five P's as well. So we're talking about things like the pilot. Well, first we go over the plan. Hey, this is our planned route. This is our ETA, different things like that, so that the more hesitant passenger knows, hey, he's got everything lined up. He knows where we're going. Once again, the pilot situation, that's where we use the I am safe checklist. We'll go over programming because programming is going to go a long way. Because using automation in this situation makes my workload easier. It also helps me to be able to explain things to the more inquisitive passenger, and it also can make the more hesitant passenger a little more relaxed, knowing that, hey, he's not just the single pilot. He also has, automation helping him. And like I said, it'll just make him feel more relaxed during our flight. The plane, once again, I would make sure that we have everything we needed for the flight. So we're talking about aero and making sure that the aircraft has the maintenance required for the flight. So the Aviate acronym, I will go over that with them as well. And the passengers, once again, I will make sure that they have everything they need to be comfortable. Obviously, it's a long flight. We'll make sure they have some type of entertainment or something to talk about, but also that they understand, hey, during high workload situations, we need a sterile cockpit, and I need you guys to trust my skill as the pilot in command. Um, with that being said, I would say that this could probably be a good flight. One of the things about flying with anybody in general, as long as there's not something like some crazy turbulence or winter storm going on, the longer the flight goes on, the more comfortable the passengers are going to become, and obviously the more inquisitive passenger, he may become a little more excited about what we're doing. Um, it didn't really say if this individual has a pilot's license in a single engine plane, but I'm sure he would probably have a lot of questions if he's interested in flying. Once again, I have references. I have my references from the Aviation Instructor's Handbook. the Pilot Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. And then for the aircraft I'm flying, I'm using the AFM, the Airplane Flying Manual for the Diamond DA40. Thank you for listening